All right, guys, back again. iCoach VIP members. Guys, today I have another special guest from kind of our inner circle, Miss Chasity. She here is, I'll call her my mentor as well. Her and Jason Phillips both mentor me. So I'm so excited to have you on today, and thanks for taking the time on a busy Monday for you, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So Chas, tell us a little bit, like for the viewers, just tell us a little bit more about kind of you and like how you got into really just the whole coaching space in general, but more specifically, we both kind of have the CrossFit competing background. So you competed at the CrossFit Games. This was last year, right?
This year.
Or, oh yeah, this year, yeah. But talk to us, just kind of give us a little bit of background. Like, who are you? Like, how did you start working for Jason? How did you get in the fitness field? Just take us way back.
Okay, so I have an exercise and health science degree. So I've always been interested in, physical fitness and nutrition. Then I went into massage therapy because I was really obsessed with the body and movement. And from there, I was a personal trainer for a while. And then I did the whole personal training cells and, trying to get fit in the gym, and then tried a bikini competition. So I've done pretty much everything. Well, the reason I decided to step into CrossFit is I was just tired of being in the gym and doing bicep curls in front of a mirror and focused on what I look like. So someone introduced me to CrossFit, and as soon as I stepped in the door, I fell in love with the competition of it because I've always been a very competitive person. And from there, I got a coach about 9 months into it and told him I wanted to go to the CrossFit Games at 32 when I started with him. And he basically told me I was crazy. He didn't say it at that moment, but that's what he thought. And about a year and a half after working with him, he realized I was pretty much a train wreck when it came to nutrition. And he introduced me to Jason. So Jason became my nutrition coach. Along the way, obviously, he helped me work through eating disorders and things like that. But I was very interested in what we were doing and not just what we were doing for me. I wanted to know the science behind it. I wanted to know everything that was going on. And he realized that it was something that I was super passionate about. So he asked me to be one of his coaches. And I started out just learning from him, and kind of was one of the reasons that he created NCI, because he started teaching us and realized that we could go and get education, but we didn't have any application. So he was teaching us the application part of it. 5 years later, after, starting CrossFit, I actually went to the CrossFit Games this year. I was a master's athlete in the 35 to 39 division. And since then, while working with Jason and trying to get to the CrossFit Games, I realized I was really obsessed with like the business side of how to change not just nutrition coaches, but just anybody, how to help them build a business. And I started asking him questions about his business. It was kind of the same thing as with the nutrition coaching. And I realized all of my nutrition clients started learning so much that they started wanting to go to NCI and they wanted to become nutrition coaches. So I started mentoring them, not knowing that I was going to be stepping over into the mastermind to mentor, a large sum of people on how to become a nutrition coach and then how to build a business inside of that. So that's kind of my whole journey with Jason. And now I help him run the All In Mastermind and then also the All In Elite that we just began this year.
That's awesome. So timeline wise, like you first met Jason for the first time, how long ago?
I guess it's been about 4 years, 3 or 4 years. It's been fast. It seems like 10 years, but it's been pretty fast.
Yeah, I'm sure. Y'all have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess I'm interested. So from the physique, competing in the physique world, that then led you into competing in CrossFit. That was the transfer?
Yeah.
Okay. So was there any time of like just like sitting back and like enjoying yourself and not being competitive in anything, or did you jump right into that?
Well, I actually, in my early 20s, I had an autoimmune disease. And so I in like freshman year, I gained like the freshman 50, not the freshman 15. So I got up to about 175 pounds. So throughout my 20s, I was working and trying to lose weight and had a lot of eating disorders. So the culmination of being competitive was always that get on stage thing, because that's what I thought was the end all be all, was to become a figure competitor and get on a magazine or something. So that's what I did. As far as like, I went from 175 to when I was on stage, I was about 103, 105 when I competed as a bikini competitor. And then there was some time afterwards. I think I competed when I was 29. I didn't start CrossFit till I was 32. So I basically kind of floundered, moved to Florida from Georgia, just kind of got bored with, I didn't want to get on stage again because I'd already done that and I didn't have anything to do. And I wasn't really competitive in any sports. So when I found CrossFit, I think that's why I was so excited, because I'd been waiting for a couple years trying to find something to get excited about.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it was very similar for me too, because I was like, I came from like competing in sports my whole life.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I was okay at sports, but I was actually like, I was like the best like exerciser, right? Like,
yeah.
I was known for like putting in the work in the gym. Like everyone was like, why do you work out so hard? Like, why do you take the strength conditioning aspect so serious? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just really love like being in the gym, and like, I'm like for like my body weight, like I was one of the strongest, and like, I just really excelled. And I was good at football, but I wasn't like great, and right. I felt like I was great in the gym. So that then led into this sport of fitness, which I dove into CrossFit with. But I'll never forget, one of my friends, he's the one that introduced me to it, and we did 13.5 in his garage. And so this was like, you had like 3 minutes to do like 3 rounds of like chest bar pull-ups and thrusters, whatever. So I did the first 3 minutes and then I was done because I couldn't do like chest bar pull-ups. I was doing everything strict. So it was like the thrusters were really easy, but then the pull-ups, like I was like he was like, time, and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you only have 3 minutes to complete that. I was like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
And then little did I know there's these things called, butterfly pull-ups, and I learned all that after a while. But what was your first CrossFit workout that you ever did?
I walked into a gym at 6 o'clock in the morning because that's when I used to work out. Yeah. And I had just Googled the closest CrossFit gym to me. Luckily, I actually knew the coach that was in there, and I had met him at a gym that I had worked at previously. And he basically told me, you can't do this workout because you don't know what you're doing. But since I know you're fit, we'll let you try it, and then we'll let you go to like the introductory classes so you can learn all the stuff. I don't remember the exact workout. I do know that there were 50 pull-ups in it, and there were burpee like box jumps. So it was like a burpee box jump and then a pull-up. And when I looked at the board, it looked like German. I was like, you're explaining this workout to me, but I don't understand what those words or numbers are for. But you're also telling me that I'm going to do 50 pull-ups in 1 hour? Like, I can't do that ever. So they started me on jumping pull-ups. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm super strong, because I could do strict pull-ups then. I was strong enough to do like 5 or 7. But I swear to you, 50 pull-ups plus like 50 burpees, I couldn't walk for like 2 days. It was horrible. And I actually did all of them. But it was probably close to rhabdo just from some jumping pull-ups.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think it's one thing that like a lot of people maybe, underestimate, right? Like for me, for example, I ran a half marathon yesterday for the first time.
Oh my goodness.
I thought that I didn't take it serious, right? I was like, oh, I do CrossFit, like I'm good. Well, yesterday, like I woke up this morning and my body is wrecked. Like I feel worse from this run than I did from pretty much any of my CrossFit competitions I did. But it just goes to show, it's like when you're not used to training in that way, it's such a new like stressor on your body. And like I used to be a runner. Like back in middle school, I had a 4:56 mile. Like I was good, like that cross country, but I also forget that I weigh 185 now, and back then I weighed like 130, 140.
Right.
yeah, anyways, we won't go off on that tangent. But yesterday, if any of y'all would have saw me, like I literally walked so many times. I can't even keep track of how many times I walked yesterday.
It was a half marathon?
Half marathon,
I've never ran that far.
it's like my feet hurt so bad and my hip flexors hurt so bad. Like, I mean, I'm like, no joke. Like, I'm like wobbling around the house right now. But that's cool. So you come into this gym, you know, you've been looking for something to compete in. Here comes this CrossFit sport. And so you just go all in on that. You start working out, you start falling in love with it. At what point or how far in did you start to, you know, maybe think to yourself, hey, like I want to compete in this?
It was the first year. I had my first competition was the first year. I think it was about 9 months in. I did like my box competition. I remember the kettlebell swings were 35 pounds. The weight only went up to 65 pounds. And I remember double unders, like I was winning and then the double unders came and I couldn't do those. Still a problem. But I just caught the bug. I actually won the competition and was super excited about it. But my gym was a brand new gym. So most of the people in there were just learning the movements and trying to get good at moving anyway. And then I did Wadapalooza in January after I joined in April the year before. And it was over. Like to do Wadapalooza as my second competition with a team of people and all of that, I was like, I can't. I lost all of my friends. The only thing I could talk about was my lifts or some video of them. And now every person I talked to did CrossFit. It was pretty bad.
Start sipping the Kool-Aid, right?
Oh, yeah. I took it like mouth to a fire hose. I just took it all in.
Well, I mean, I always joke about it. It's like a double-edged sword, right? Like a lot of us, like whether it's entrepreneur or CrossFit or whatever, like we have this like all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
You know, that Jason, you know, says all in, right? Because it's like, yeah, like it's like a double-edged sword. It's like I'm all in, but at the same time, like other things sometimes cause issues just because I'm so laser focused on one thing, you know?
Absolutely. It does cause, I have an addictive personality, so I do well in things, but it's just the rest of your life kind of goes to the wayside.
Well, and I mean, I talk about it transparently all the time, but like I have a lot of people in my family that have addictive personalities. Like I've struggled with drugs myself. I have an aunt that died in a homeless shelter. You know, like her whole life was drug overdoses and all this crazy stuff. And like, I think back to it, I'm like, oh my God, like there's a lot of addiction in my family. And like, I think if I would have paid more attention to that in the beginning, like maybe I would have been a little more careful with not letting myself get into an addictive place, but live and learn, right?
Yeah, I'm the same way. My entire family has, like, my dad, all of my uncles, both of my grandfathers, every single man in my life was addicted to something. And then most of the women are eating disordered. So it was just like a natural thing for me to like have. And if they're not addicted to like drugs or alcohol, they would come out of that. And when they would come out of that and they'd be addicted to business. So it was like across the board, everybody was. And it never was taught that I probably shouldn't be super obsessed with one thing. I was a gymnast as a child. So I worked out like 3 hours a day from like, I don't know, like 5 to I was like 12. That's not normal, but that was my normal. So
yeah, it just made, like, with me having a kid on the way here in 2 months, like I've really been thinking about, like, you know, parenting and like the things that we say and the things that we do and how that affects, you know, children. And
yeah,
I'm glad that I am where I am now, and like I've learned so much that I have some perspective going into it. But I think that's a huge mistake that a lot of people make. It's just like they don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right?
right. I think the addictive personality, as long as it's harnessed in the right direction, you're gonna succeed. I think every single entrepreneur on the face of the planet is basically an addict. Like there's really no other way, because everybody else is like, wait, you work more than 9 to 5, but why? And I'm like, well, why not? Like I'll be 85 and still be waking up and working. Like that's just what I do.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So you did Wadapalooza, which was obviously like a really big competition. Like I did that one twice. I tell people all the time, I would like I would rather, like, if you had to recommend the best competition, I would say Wadapalooza is better than regionals. I don't
Oh
know if
yeah.
you agree with that, but
Yeah, I agree.
when I went out there, it was like, I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. You know, like I think my second year I competed as an individual, and my third year I competed on a team with FitAid. And especially the FitAid year, because they like flew us all out. Like we had like a mansion, like it was like legit. I'm over here like sitting in a hot tub with what's her name, Sarah Sigmund's daughter. I'm just like fanboying out. I'm like, what is going on right now, right? But yeah, I mean, I think Wadapalooza is definitely one of the best competitions that's out there. So it makes sense that, you know, in terms of sipping the Kool-Aid, like you really, really went all in after that.
Yeah.
How did you? I know you wanted to or you competed on a team a few times, you competed individual, but so after Wadapalooza, you went and you started competing with, were you at Training Think Tank then, or?
I was only at Training Think Tank the last 2 years.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So what team did you compete on after Wadapalooza, like the first time that you went to regionals?
My first year, actually, I was with Kyle at that first Wadapalooza.
Okay.
Maybe it was the second one. Anyway, but my first year competing on a team was the CrossFit squad out of West Palm Beach. And we were a bunch of newbies, but we actually won the region and then ended up like 15th at regionals because we just didn't have a coach and didn't know what we were doing. And kind of like if you don't know what you're doing and you're kind of not working together, you're going to not do very well. But individually, we were really good athletes. The next year I went individually and I was still at the CrossFit squad. Then the following year I moved up to, cause after I finished the individual year, I walked off the floor and Kyle looked at me and he was like, "Are you done with this individual stuff?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, move up to Training Think Tank. We'll create a team." And because I was wrecked after that, it was bad. And so I moved to Georgia. We, in the pursuit of creating a team, but we hadn't created one yet. Then we ended up 6th that year. And then the next year I moved back to Florida because I didn't think we were going to do it again. Then they said, "Hey, let's try again." Moved back to Georgia to try again. Since we were 6th, we were like, I mean, we got to try again. That's close.
Oh, yeah.
And then they changed the format and changed it from 6 people to 4 people. So now we had to revamp the teams. And so then I trained with the team thinking I might go on a team. And literally a week and a half before, I told them, just let everybody else go. And I'll just see if I can make it as a master's athlete. And then they ended up 6th again, which sucks. And then I ended up going as a master's athlete, but I was the first alternate. So I ended up like the very last person to get called to go as a master's athlete. So that was 21st.
You made it. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Well, and so my story was like a little, like the first year that I did CrossFit, I was like 6 months into it. But again, I had like the powerlifting and running and all the background. My gymnastics was the worst part. But I missed qualifying for regionals by 4 spots. And so for me, like, I was like, oh my God, like I was like, that next year was the hardest year I ever trained because I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to miss it by 4 spots.
Yep.
And then made it and then made it the next year. But what are some of the big differences? Like, so for me, like I never competed on a team. It was always individual. What are some of the biggest differences that you saw with like competing as an individual athlete versus a team?
Well, the team is a very different dynamic. You have to work together. You kind of have to listen to each other. And sometimes you have to say, you know, hey, that person's better than me. Let them go out there and do it. And sometimes you have to say, well, you know, I would have an opinion and think we should do it one way, but the rest of the team might have an opinion of we should do it this other way. And you have to be like, okay, whatever you say, I'm going to work with it. I was more of a utility team player. So stuff like that really didn't bother me as much. We had, you know, people that come to a team that are really individual people, they're more apt to have an opinion about where people go. I was more of a utility player, meaning I was kind of good at everything, not great at anything, and which has kind of been most of my life. But So like if we're doing chest to bar, I will change my chest to bar to meet whatever cadence every single other person has. So I'm the one that they would be like, okay, let's see who can go together. And then the next, and whoever doesn't fit with anybody, I would go with that person. Same thing for like handstand push-ups. And that honestly was the hardest part about being on a team, because you couldn't just go out there and go. You had to slow everything down or speed everything up according to what everybody else on the team was doing. And so it's just a completely different workout. You might be dying during chest to bar where normally you can do them really easy, because you're having to slow them down for the 6'4" guy that's standing next to you. Like, it's a really interesting dynamic. But it's fun. It's so much more fun than individual. If I had it to do over, I would only want to do team, because we, especially with the training think tank team, we literally would stand on the floor about to go, and Mike McGoldrick would crack a joke, and we would all be dying laughing. And then afterwards we would hug, and whatever happened, like, we'd walk away and go tell jokes. And it was the most fun I've ever had doing CrossFit is team. Even at Wadapalooza, you just feel like you're not alone, and you're pushing. Like, a lot of times you'll push a lot harder for your other people than you even will for yourself.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think that was, I mean, it was interesting, right? Like, competing individually, so like traveling and going to competitions and stuff like that, doing all that alone, like, that sucked, right?
Yeah.
And then just knowing, like, in the competition, like, if you have a bad workout or, whatever, it's the mindset game the whole entire way.
Oh, yeah.
With a team, you can kind of like feed off their mindset a little bit more. Yeah, so that's a great point. That was one thing for me, I think, like, selfishly, like, and we didn't exactly have like a team that, we would want to put together anyways, but like, I think for me, it was always like, I don't want to compete team, because like, I know how much work I'm putting in as an individual, and like, nobody else in the gym can train like as much as me, or maybe they're not as serious or whatever. And so I was always like the person that was like very selfish, and I was like, no, I'm going individual. Like, I could care less about team. But I wish that I would have experimented with team a little bit more, because like the very few instances I did with grid. Do you remember grid?
Yeah.
So,
I went to the combine.
Yeah. So I did the combine here, and then they invited me out to like the Vegas combine and did that one. But working like, that was about as team as I ever got, and that was cool. Like, it was fun.
It was fun.
But I also realized, like what you said, I didn't specialize in anything. Like, I wasn't good at one thing. And so I kind of sucked at being on a team, especially in the grid setting, because I wasn't good at like just lifting or just not. I was just very well rounded.
Yep.
So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, grid didn't work for me. I wanted to do it. I built bars for some of the first teams. The Miami Surge, I worked with them the entire season, and would, like, anytime they would meet, I would go down, because I didn't have like a specific job. I would help feed them and just hang out. I just wanted to be around CrossFit athletes. Yeah. And it was crazy though, because my coach was like, you're really not good at anything. He was like, you're really good at CrossFit, but not like one thing. So I made the combine, but then that's pretty much what they said. They were like, you're really not great at anything. Like, you need to go do CrossFit.
It was a tough pill to swallow, for sure.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, that's been my whole life. I was like you growing up, even on all the different sports that I've done. I was just really good at just kind of being wherever anybody needed me, but I was never like the standout player. And then I was always in the gym. Yeah. That's where I wanted to be, was in the gym working out, and like cardio was like basketball.
Yeah. No, I mean, very similar. I mean, that's why, like, for me, I mean, I played like football and baseball, but like powerlifting for me was like my favorite sport, because it brought me back to just me. Like, the work that I put into the gym is what's going to dictate, how I do. And it was going to school in Texas, like Texas football, like our powerlifting team was like bigger and like more popular, and like basically like the talk of the town was our powerlifting team, not our football team.
Oh, wow.
So we basically sent at least one athlete for every weight class to the state championship all 4 years that I was there.
Heck yeah, that's cool.
So when people come to me and they're like, oh, like you almost qualified for regionals like within 6 months. And I was like, Well, yeah, but it was because like, I mean, I squatted 600 pounds as a senior in high school. Like strength was like what I was good at. Gymnastics, I couldn't even do a muscle up when I started. It took me like, I got like in my first open workout, I think I got like either like my first muscle up or maybe a few weeks right before it, like right in the open or right before the open.
Yep.
So,
Me too.
but talk to me a little bit about like, you know, obviously like y'all work with a lot of CrossFit, not CrossFit athletes, but just people that do CrossFit, right? And I know we've dove into this like a lot, but just for the purpose of the inner circle here, talk to me a little bit about like the clients that you work with. What are the biggest issues that you see with just general pop going into and doing CrossFit workouts in the class setting? Like from a fueling perspective, from, you know, like we had that age there where it was like carbs were the devil, and I think people are starting to realize that they need carbs now, but just some things like that. What are some of the big issues you see in the space?
With my CrossFit people, most of them start CrossFit thinking they're going to lose weight and lean out and get stronger, which is what every single person coming to a nutrition coach says. They all say, can I get stronger and lose weight and lean out? Which is kind of going in two different directions. But the problem with CrossFit, usually at the beginning, within the first like 6 or 8 months, people are seeing a lot of changes because they're having like the neurological adaptation. So movements are getting better. They're PRing their lifts, but they're also working out differently. So their body is usually changing a bit. The problem then hits around 6 or 8 months where all changes to the body, all changes to getting stronger, just hit a wall. And that's usually because they've been eating the same way as they were when they were lifting weights in a regular gym and walking on the treadmill at an incline. CrossFit is a different animal, and most people don't realize you need to eat more in order to recover your nervous system from the crazy workouts that you're doing. Like you never walk into LA Fitness, do a few bicep curls, walk on the treadmill and lay on the ground in legit pain. And then then you walk into a CrossFit gym and you do Fran, which is like sometimes, I mean, the first time I did it was like a 6.5 minute workout. And they were like, that's amazing. But even if it's a 10-minute workout, you're literally laying on the floor in pain. And most people do it in 2 minutes. So it's a completely different animal. The biggest problem is most people don't eat enough and they don't know how to change their macros in order to get good, healthy food in to eat enough. So now they add carbs, but they're adding trash. And they're like eating Rice Krispie treats. And then they're frustrated that their body's not changing because they have so much inflammation in their body and they're eating trash. So now nothing's changing and they're complaining, but yet they're addicted. So they won't quit CrossFit.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think that hit it right on the head. So like, obviously, like y'all talked about, you know, this like triangle of awareness, right? And you have like aesthetics and performance and health. And so like, I think, you know, there's a lot of people that come to us, right? It's like the have it all method. Like they want everything, but they've also been fooled, right? Like they see the people standing on the podium shredded and they think CrossFit leads to that. So it makes sense. But I guess when like somebody first comes to you and it's one of those people that is like, hey, like I want optimal performance and I want optimal aesthetics, like just kind of like walk me through that conversation. Like what does that look like, getting them to create some awareness and some understanding as to like why you can't have both necessarily at the same
time? I usually ask them why, and that usually helps because as soon as I ask, why do you want to be better at CrossFit? And then why do you want to look a certain way? And what does that mean? Is it weight on the scale? Is it changing your body size so that you fit into your pants better? Do you want bigger muscles? So once I know why and what exactly, then I can tackle the how to get there. So then I can explain to them if they're like, well, I want abs, but I want to be smaller and I want to be good in the gym so that I can beat Sally because she sucks and I want to beat her. Then I'm like, okay, well, let me just explain to you, abs are muscles, which means your belly might get bigger. So that's not going to make you smaller. And then we need to eat more food then. If you want to lose size, that means you probably are going to be in a deficit. So therefore, you're not going to beat Sally because you need fuel to beat Sally. If you want to beat Sally, then we need more food so that you can recover to keep beating Sally in the gym. And they're like, oh crap. And I'm like, okay, light bulbs are going off. Do you see how all three of these are kind of different goals? We have to pick what's the most important first, and then we'll go toward the next one. So you have to kind of pick one. So if I could snap my fingers and give you the exact thing you wanted more than anything, and you had to pick one of the three, you have to, like, gun to your head. Which one is it? Usually it's that they want to look better. So they want to be smaller, take up less space, or they want to be more muscular and be leaner. So then it comes up, usually it's like, okay, well then let go of what's happening with Sally. We're going to put a heart rate monitor on you while you work out, and you just tell them you're doing something to look sexy. And now it's the mindset of keeping them toward that goal so that competition with Sally in the gym doesn't bother her anymore. And then we talk about it every week to keep her on the path. And then we tweak the macros according to what the specific goal is.
Got it. So, like, I guess that brings me into like a topic of like what y'all talk about, like with like nutritional periodization, maybe, right? So,
yeah.
So maybe they have these three goals, but we've defined that they want to focus on the aesthetic part first. So, like, maybe just give me, like, can you just give us like an example of like, hey, you know, I had whoever, Sally, came to me and she has these three goals. Can you kind of talk about like what nutritional periodization is and maybe how we could eventually attack all of those goals, just not all at once?
Yeah. Even in the conversation I was talking about, like, if she picked aesthetics first, but it's, you know, January 1st or January 15th, and the open is coming up and she really wants to do good at the open, but she lives in a place that's like kind of cold, but it's warm in the summer. Well, I would then tell her that maybe, you know, this is where coaching comes in. Maybe we could go toward the performance goal first so that you perform well in the open, then we'll recover you, then we'll go towards your aesthetic goal. And periodization is where I get their goal first, and then I figure out the time of the year we're in, because everybody thinks that we just hand over macro prescriptions and then we're like, peace, good luck, have fun, those are your numbers. But it's completely different. In January, you might be getting ready for the open, and afterwards we'll need to tweak it so that it's like an off season or like a, you know, post season. Then we'll have to tweak your macros again for off season. You might want to do some aesthetic stuff there. Then we need to ramp you back up for like preseason, and then there's during season. So, and I even explained to, like, you know, my house moms that aren't really caring about the open, they're just going to do it to be around people, that they also have periodization. But theirs might be around, I want to look sexy in the summer and I want to look sexy for my birthday in December. Well, you can't be in a deficit all year long, so we might have to pull her calories back so that she's super sexy and lean during the summer, pull them back up, and then get them back down a little bit so New Year's she has those great pictures. So it just depends on what the periodization is, but nobody eats the same macros all year long. You have to have an off season, you have to have an in season, and you have to have a time where you just like lay around and do nothing, which most people don't. They think you're supposed to be in a deficit all year long. So yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So like diving into some of the questions I get all the time is like let's think about Joe, who's at 24-hour fitness, like pumping his dumbbell curls in front of the mirror, taking a selfie. Like, what does pre and post workout nutrition look like for him, just very generalized, versus maybe somebody that is about to go take on whatever, Fran in the CrossFit gym?
Well, pre-workout, I typically say try just to get a protein carb meal, no matter what you're doing. And it's about 2 hours before or 90 minutes before. I don't find that having fiber before you go lift weights or do any kind of cardio, whether it's slow or fast, really serves you. Usually it gets your digestion going, and what we need to have is blood going to the extremities and blood going to other places instead of inside your digestive tract where your belly starts hurting. If you're going to a CrossFit gym and doing Fran, you definitely do not want fiber. So keep it to like a protein source and a carb source that burns super quickly for both is pretty much what I teach. So I'm usually like a rice and chicken kind of girl, or even if you have to, like a protein shake, if you're running from work, a protein shake and a rice cake, something that's fast. Post-workout, immediately, if you're doing CrossFit, I tell every single person to do a protein shake and a carb shake. Depending on where you are in your season or who you are as an athlete, you might do protein 1 scoop, carb up to 4 scoops. Because if you're Noah Olson, like he needs as many carbs as possible. They're eating like 500 carbs a day. There's no way to get that in with like food. So post-workout's the best time to do it. If you're walking out of a, lifting weights, I say usually just a protein shake. Most people are not lifting weights and getting on the treadmill and needing like a huge carb source afterwards. But if you're doing a hard workout, it's not going to hurt you if you have the carb allowance in your diet. Because if you don't have, what I find is if you only have like 100 to 120 carbs you're eating every day, you definitely don't want to take 25 of those in a scoop. You might want to take it as some kind of food instead. And then within the window of about 60 minutes after your workout, I would get in a full protein, carb, fat, high quality meal for every single person, because that's the window where your metabolism's super high, you're burning calories, you're wanting to recover. So get in a lot of high nutrient dense foods, but from every single macronutrient, protein, carbs, and fats.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So what about the people that like they work out and they do like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. workouts, right? So do they need to wake up at 3 a.m. to do their pre-workout, or how does that work?
No, the people that I have working out in the morning, I always have their pre-workout meal is basically dinner. So if you are going in to do a CrossFit workout at 5 a.m. and you're more of a carb heavy diet, do not worry about eating that bowl of rice before bed. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to turn to fat. Your glycogen storage is going to be full so that when you walk into the gym on an empty stomach, all of your storages are full and you actually have fuel that's readily available. Also, the rice before bed or the carb heavy dinner is going to actually make you sleep better because it'll drive your body into the parasympathetic. And every time, if you've ever eaten a ton of carbs, you just are like, oh, I'm tired. Well, that's why your body's nice and relaxed. If they're going, and it's the same thing for if they're going to just do a weightlifting workout or, cardio at a gym, a regular gym. I don't have them usually like carb backload or anything like that, or wait and keep most of their carbs to dinner, but I just tell them to eat normally every day and they can go in fasted. Most people that do the 5 a.m., I usually have them do some BCAAs before. 1, it makes them feel like they're eating, and 2, it makes the water taste better so they get hydrated. I don't know if there's really any research to support it, but it does a lot for the mindset of all of my clients. So that's really helpful.
That makes sense. So talk to me a little bit about like maybe, we touched on nutrition a bit, but maybe like how important is like sleep? How important is like mobility and like recovery and stuff like that? If you have, I think a lot of people these days, now that we don't have regionals anymore, like a lot of people's goals maybe have shifted a little bit. But there's still a lot of people out there that love doing the weekend competitions, and there's still tons of people that are like doing those smaller competitions. So maybe talk to me a little bit about like, hey, we all know like the weekend warriors that like don't do anything and then they try to go do the Spartan race and then they get injured, right? So talk to us a little bit about like, even if you're just doing these local competitions, like how important is the factors outside of nutrition?
The factors outside of nutrition are just as important, if not more important, because everybody seems to focus on nutrition and they don't focus on the extras. If you're not sleeping well, you're not recovering, you're basically breaking your body down, and we're already rusting. Our body, just as a natural fact, we're all getting older and we're all moving toward death. That's kind of depressing, but it's true. And if you're not sleeping and you're not stretching and keeping your body mobile, if you're not, taking in enough water, if you're not doing the parasympathetic activities, the massages, the relaxation, the seeing your chiropractor, the just meditation, anything that will bring your body into a relaxing state, then basically you're running all day long on fight or flight. you're not recovering, and you're going to get sick, and you're also going to die faster. And all of this work that you're putting in to like count your macros and make sure you're in the gym 100 times a week, like all of that's going to be for nothing because you're not doing the other part to make sure you're healing from that stuff. So I put a lot of importance on the taking care of yourself side of it. Especially sleep. That's huge. I always say the most expensive things and what you should invest in is a mattress and some shoes. Have high quality mattresses and high quality shoes, because if you don't sleep well and if your feet hurt, you're basically breaking down all the time, the entire time of your life, every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. So how much, like, you see it kind of all over the place, like, but how many hours, like, let's say for instance, you're competing, doing like local competitions, you're maybe in the CrossFit gym, 4 or 5 days a week, something like that. Like, how much sleep, and maybe this is just for everybody, but how much sleep should we be striving to get each night? Like, what's not enough? Like, what's too much? If there's such
I tell my clients 7 to 8. 7 is a minimum. And honestly, the reason I say that is most of them get 5 or 6, because it's kind of like, if I really want my clients to eat 7 to 13 fruits and vegetables every day, they eat 2. So I try to get them to 5. It's just moving them forward instead of what's optimal. I would love for all of them to get 8 to 10 or 9 to 10. If you're a high level CrossFit athlete, you need 9 to 10. If you're going to do CrossFit and you're going to be driving your nervous system into the ground and laying on the floor after every workout, which I don't advise either, then do about 8 to 9. And then if you're a regular, walk in the gym, lift weights, then maybe you could do 7 to 9. I really like sleep. It's like, it's just, if your sleep's messed up and you're not getting enough, everything is wrecked and you don't realize it. And it turns into adrenal fatigue, which I've had and you do not want. So sleep is huge for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that it's so interesting, right? Because everybody comes to us, they're like, well, what about my macros, or what supplements should I take? Which both cost money, right?
Yes.
But yet we don't prioritize that,
Right.
I use the same example with like NEAT, like, getting out there and not just sitting on a couch all day. It's like, guys, both of these things are free, but yet we don't really prioritize them because they're free,
Right. Exactly. I even tell people, they're like, well, I need to get a Fitbit so I can make sure. And I'm like, there's this thing on your iPhone that you carry around that can measure your steps. And they're like, well, what if when I set my phone down? I'm like, when is that? When you sit? Because pretty much if you're moving, your purse is either in your pocket, it's in your purse, it's somewhere on you, you're walking and running and holding it. So it pretty much measures all the steps of the day. Yeah. So you don't even have to spend money on a Fitbit to know how many steps you get. You could just do that and sleep and probably be in a much better place. Do that for a month, then hire a coach.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, well, and I will say, I tried to do just the Apple phone reading, and like I was pulling in like 2,000 steps a day, and
wow.
Like the Fitbit Flex 2, it's like $50, and I was actually more around like 5,000 or 6,000 a day.
Oh, that's really good to know.
But at the same time, I work from home, and like I would leave my phone and go do all the time. So I think if you're out and about all the time, it'd probably be a little more realistic. But
yeah, I think it would be good. It's like, give yourself a gift. If I can try to hit 10,000 steps or whatever it is that whatever goal you set for a month, your gift by doing that is to buy yourself a Fitbit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, well, we'll probably start with the sleep first and make sure you're taking care of there.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So I know I want to respect your time here. I could probably talk to you all day, but give me like your biggest takeaway from competing in CrossFit. Like, what's the number one thing that you learned about yourself? And also, what is just kind of like your biggest piece of advice for people that still do have those admirations, and maybe like the younger athletes, like maybe they have more of a chance, like these kids that are 17, 18, 19 years old, like the sport's so new for them and like they have their whole lifetime ahead. So first, what's your biggest takeaway from competing at the CrossFit Games? And then we'll dive into that next one.
My biggest takeaway is anything's possible.
Love that.
I remember starting CrossFit and looking at Sam Briggs, and she was the person it was on a magazine, and she was the person this kind of gets me choked up. Like, I wanted to be that fit and I wanted to compete and be as good as her. And to be able, like, and this will probably be the only season she does masters and she'll go back and crush all the 20-year-olds. But to be on the floor with her and to beat her at a couple workouts and to have her standing beside me for all the ones that she finished 3 or 4 minutes before me and cheering me on to get my tail to the end. And I finished every single workout, even though I thought I was going to die for most of them. Like, I realized, like, literally anything's possible. But the problem with anything's possible is people aren't willing to give the time and the consistency. But if you do anything consistently for time, and it's dependent on how long it takes you, you really can do anything you want. And I realized that the patience of waiting for 5 years to get to that moment to run across the line and have Sam Briggs, she was already standing there at our first workout, I literally burst into tears and I was like, this is what I've worked for 5 years. And it moved me into a position of realizing, like, if I want it, just write it down and just keep chugging away. I mean, just keep doing it. Like, just stay in the moment, be consistent over time, and it'll happen.
I love that. I love that. And that's with anything, not just competing in a sport. It's competing in the game you live, right?
Yeah.
So to those 16, 17, 18, 19, I know a lot of teenagers that are, you know, they're in the sport and like, I love it because, you know, I think there's a lot of people that maybe didn't gravitate towards your traditional sports, like your football and volleyball and things like that, but they found this sport of like working out, and like, that's amazing because like anybody that we can teach to like enjoy working out and like getting into healthy habits, like it's just going to make the rest of their life even better.
Yeah.
So what's the advice though that you would give to, you know, Michelle that's 16 years old that just qualified for the CrossFit Games last year for the first time, and she wants to be the next Sam Briggs? What's your advice to her?
I would definitely say to have action without expectation. And obviously stay consistent. But the problem with being that young is things change so fast. It didn't happen for me that fast because I was 32. But with them, they change so fast. They get stronger so fast. Like, their lives are moving at warp speed. So if they can stay in the action without the expectation, obviously set the target and have it out there as the horizon. But every single day, give 100% inside the action without the expectation of it ever getting you on the podium. You will be there faster than you ever could thought, especially those 16-year-olds that change so fast. But the problem is that they expect that change to keep going that fast, and you will hit a wall to where the PRs are once a year instead of every other day. And that's where you have to just stay in the action and know it's going to happen, but just don't live in the expectation of it happening today.
And I think that's such great advice just for all of us. You know,
everything. We
all have goals. Well, hopefully most of us have, like, you know, big goals and medium goals and small goals. And it's I think the biggest piece of advice that I've gave is just like, you know, and this is something I have to remind myself of every single day, but it's like the comparison syndrome. Like, it's such a real thing, whether you're comparing yourself to other athletes or you're comparing yourself to other business owners or just anybody in general in your own life. And I think that, like, the quote of like, comparison is the thief of joy. I mean, it's such a true statement. Like, I've had because of me comparing myself to others, like, I've struggled with that my whole entire life. Back when I was playing baseball and football and powerlifting, I mean, it's been my whole life, right? And I think it's a thing that a lot of us struggle with. But I think what you just said of putting in the consistent work, you know, setting the goals, but not expecting yourself to get there overnight. You know, like, people don't have overnight success. It takes a lot, and you have to sacrifice a lot to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, and part of staying inside the action is you'll actually find joy in, and it's cliche, but you'll find joy in this journey. I mean, it took 5 years from me walking into a CrossFit gym. Literally, I walked in April 7th, 5 years ago. And then it was August, 5 years later, I was on the field at the CrossFit Games with Sam Briggs. I mean, if I wouldn't have enjoyed the journey of along the way, the little fun things and stayed in the action, 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been worth it. I wouldn't have been able to be there and have been happy, because that's a moment. It was a weekend and it was gone. And I woke up the next day and I was exactly the same. But the process of becoming better and the process of changing who I was, that's what I take away from it. Yeah, the weekend was amazing, but the journey was epic.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great reminder. It's just like play the long game, you know, like really enjoy, like try to convince yourself to like fall in love with the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if not, I mean, you probably would have been at the CrossFit Games this year comparing yourself to everybody on the field, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there was comparison or not. I mean, I feel like I compare myself to others all the time, no matter what I do. But I love that. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. Like I said, I could probably ask you a million questions here, but I want to respect your time. Where can everybody find you at? Obviously, the Instagram, Facebook, all of the social medias of the world. Where can they find Miss Chasity at?
Instagram, it's Chasity Snowden, and then Facebook is the same. I also, it usually goes by Chas Snowden, but you'll have to look up Chasity Snowden, and it's Sity. And then on the IN3 page, I have a profile, and it's in3nutrition.com.
And on the Instagram, you have underscore IN3 on there, right?
Yes, Chasity Snowden underscore IN3.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, y'all go follow her. She's awesome. She's been such a great mentor for me over the past almost year now. So,
Wow.
yeah, thank you so much for taking the time today and coming on. And hopefully this adds value to all of you that have CrossFit competing aspirations. It's something that definitely was a really big part of my life, being in the field or being in the CrossFit space for 5 years, competing, coaching. Like I think the community is my favorite part about it all. So if you're somebody over here looking to find a community or to find something to compete in, definitely reach out to Chastity. She has tons of insight, and yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Chas. And I tell you what, I'll sign off here and then we'll finish out.
Okay.